Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Clark and I'm a registered dietitian and have been a dietitian for almost 30 years. I've worked in public health clinics, hospitals, diabetes education, and most recently I have found my passion in teaching people how to cook. For so many years in a hospital, I would be on one side of the desk and a patient or client on the other, and you're motivating, you're educating, and you're telling them exactly what to eat. And they leave empowered. I feel good, they feel good. And then about a week later, they're looking through their closet saying, I can't do this anymore. This is a lot of work. Too much cooking, not enough time, too much cleanup. When can I get to the store? So I found that when I'm teaching somebody how to cook, I use a cooking system that makes it the most cleanest, non-toxic way to cook, how to retain that nutrition as best as possible, because we can lose a lot of our nutrition by how we cook. And by finding tools that make the job so easy, they continue to do this over the years. And it's not just something that they're going to do for a week long once they leave the hospital or once they leave the office. It's something that they're practicing for a lifetime because they're learning and educating and growing as they go. I'd like to talk about my nutrition philosophy and what works for me and my family and anyone that I'm teaching. So I'd like to start with a few ideas for you. And first thing is that we want to make sure that when we're cooking and when we're shopping, that we're looking at the real whole foods. And this means, closest to the spectrum of real as possible. Usually it's the perimeter of the grocery store, not in the middle. So all your fruits and vegetables, your protein, and that's what we're going to stick to. It's going to be very vegetable oriented and protein oriented. So, but getting closest to the spectrum. And you can put this in a good, better, and best category, where good might be still processed and has sugar and fat in it. And better is a little less processed, less additives, but still maybe some and a bit more benefits. But then best would be considered the most antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. And you could look at this in a food situation too. Say, let's take an apple pie. Good, you have some apples there. Still a lot of sugar, a little fat, a lot of fat maybe. And then maybe better would be applesauce. But what would be the best is a real apple. I always say that in life, we're going to have good, better, and best. And there's going to be times in our life that we can be good, better, and best. And it doesn't mean that we're a fail. I mean, sometimes we're taking care of a family member that's sick, or we have young children, and we may only be able to get to better. I mean, we're always going to strive to get to best, but there are going to be days that we can't do it. And that's okay. We can the next meal is always a new start. So eating real whole foods. And when you're eating those real whole foods, I want to make sure that you're not peeling them as much as possible. Any vegetable, any fruit that you don't have to peel, don't peel. So it makes it really easy, because if it's organic, it doesn't make me like when I have a carrot, and I used to be peeling those carrots with the little peeler all the time. It would take forever to peel them. Where if I just give them a nice scrub, I just cut them up right there, and all those vitamins, a lot of that is right underneath the skin, and you're going to lose that if you're going to peel it. And it saves so much time. I never peel potatoes. I just scrub them really well and cut them up, and they're ready to go. So it's going to save a lot of time by not peeling your foods, and you're going to retain so much more nutrition from it. A great rule of thumb to follow is by trying to make sure that we eat 5 colors per meal. And this is one thing that I live by, and my kids live by it, is that instead of counting calories, we're counting colors. And it's funny because when we're counting colors, we tend to just look at our plate, a very colorful plate, and we're gonna make a salad here shortly. A really colorful plate makes you very happy, and you can almost feel the health in your body, to be honest. So my kids kind of laugh because I am into colors, and it really does. If you start doing it in your head, you'll start saying to yourself, like, okay, I only see 4 here. I need to find something in my refrigerator and add it to my dinner. So, and my kids even laugh because they might say, oh, wow, Mom, we have 6 colors tonight, or, oh, we only have 4. So even though they may not think they're learning, they really are. And by having all of those colors, you're going to have more the health benefits. So if you have a picky eater, if you're a picky eater and you're like, well, I eat broccoli, so I'm doing okay, you're missing out on a lot of health benefits. You need a variety and diverse, colorful plate in order to get those benefits. I mean, and really, it's like reds are great for your cardiovascular system, and the greens are good for cancer fighters. They help with hormone balance. The oranges and yellows are great for your immune system, your skin, and the purples and blues, which are my most favorite, are really important for brain health. So, and really purple is one of those colors that I kind of maybe struggle with. So I always keep blueberries. I always keep purple cabbage in my refrigerator. So if I'm lacking in one of those, they're always available. Brain health, I think, as I'm 50 now, is more important than anything. And I want to get to know my children and grandchildren, or, I don't want to forget them. So that's almost the most important thing to me these days. So, and even the whites have purpose. So all the colors have antioxidants. So we need to make sure that we are eating a variety of colors. And after colors, we want to make sure that we are cooking properly. You can lose up to 85 to 93% of your nutrition by how you're cooking your food. So by cooking at high heats for a long period, or for a long period of time, you tend to lose that nutrition from your food. So you've gone and bought all of this great organic food, and then you cook it for long periods of time. Over 185 is where you start to lose the nutrition of your food. So we want to make sure that we cook at low heats for the shortest amount of time possible. So even like, say, crock pots, they are really helpful, but when you're putting a bunch of vegetables in it along with soup and you're letting it sit for, 8 hours, that nutrition is basically in the broth. It's a good thing that you're eating it, but it actually is not as healthful as it could be. So it would be better if you put your protein in, and then maybe just at the end you added those vegetables. And we're going to talk about that later also. So the better way to do that might be when it comes to our vegetables is like steaming is hotter than boiling water. So if you can blanch your vegetables instead. Blanching is when you put them in hot boiling water and you take them out right away and you put them on cold ice. And by doing that, you retain that nutrition. And again, 93% of what was good about that vegetable is gone if you cook it too high and too long. What was the point? All those years my mother used to make me eat green beans that were sitting on a stove, from a can of course, for 5 hours. And I would have to sit there and eat those for at least an hour until I was part of the Clean Plate Club. And really, what did they do for me? Except make me not like green beans for so many years. So we understand that heat is really an enemy of nutrition. So cooking at a lower heat for the shortest amount of time possible is the best way to maintain our nutrition. And there's a couple other things that can really be enemies of our nutrition, or of cooking and nutrition. And one can be the fats and oils that we're using. So heat, fat, and oil, and water is the other one. And we're going to talk about water in a little while, of how water can rob some of the nutrition from our food. But first we're going to talk about oils. Oils do really matter when it comes to cooking, because there are different types of oils and they have smoke points. And when you're using the wrong oil for the application, you're going to actually get adverse health benefits, even if that oil was maybe something that would be helpful. Like take, for instance, olive oil. Olive oil has a lower smoke point than, say, like avocado oil or grapeseed oil. But olive oil, even though it's very healthful, it's great for our cardiovascular system, it has many health benefits. But when it's cooked at a high heat, you actually ruin those health benefits. So when we're using olive oil, we want to use it in cold applications or very, very low heat. So what I end up using grapeseed oil and avocado oil are my main two oils that I like to use for hot cooking, because they have higher smoke points. So the nice thing about grapeseed oil for me is that if I don't want an oil taste or a specific oil taste, I use grapeseed oil, because then I can't really taste it. Avocado has a little bit more, but the benefits of avocado oil are great. And that's the one that you want to stick to the most. So, and then there are some other oils like sesame oil that when you're using, it has a lower smoke point, and we want to kind of finish our foods off with it. So if I'm cooking with like a grapeseed or avocado oil and I'm sauteing some vegetables or whatever I'm doing, and I'm making a stir fry and it calls for like sesame oil to be used, I would end up just finishing my dish with sesame oil after. And that way it's not going to be cooked at a high heat. So the thing about oils though, is that we want to make sure not only are we working with heat and which one would be the right one for the job, is oxidation can be caused from air. So when I'm buying something from a big box store and I'm buying a huge bottle, it's really better to buy, a smaller bottle like this, because I'm opening it and the air is hitting it and it's causing oxidation. Oxidation causes free radicals, and those can be cancer causing to our bodies. So the other thing that causes oxidation is light. So if we want, or it's best to have anything that has your dark bottles are better than these light ones like this. So that light's hitting it and it's oxidizing that oil. And so what I end up doing is not only, I love, it's beautiful to see somebody have their oils on a counter, but the light is hitting, and even if they're in a darker bottle, it's still better to keep them in the closet away in the darkness altogether. And then make sure you're not leaving your oils open. Make sure that the lids are tightly sealed. You're not reusing oil. I mean, once it hits the air, once it has oxygen, it starts to oxidize. So, you might go to somebody's house and they have like a fry pan and they keep reusing the oil. It's like, all I see is all those free radicals just swimming around in there that are going to enter my body someday if I'm going to eat that. So that goes a lot of times for restaurants. You'll find that they're recycling oil over and over again. So that's why eating fried foods is just not a good idea. So doesn't mean I don't do it, but I definitely limit it. And I always say, like, people say, well, you're telling me not to cook with olive oil? I mean, because olive oil is one of those things that people love to cook. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, as a good rule of thumb, I try to use grapeseed oil, avocado for my hot dishes. But, when I'm making great grandma's marinara sauce, of course I'm going to have olive oil in it. But really the better way to do it is that if I saute some vegetables, I'm still using grapeseed oil. I make the sauce and then I finish it when it's done with the olive oil. So I just add a drizzle of that olive oil. You're going to taste it. It's going to taste a lot better. If you are going to cook with olive oil and you want to it at a low heat, using an extra like virgin olive oil is better. It has a little bit higher of a smoke point. Doesn't mean it has less calories. It has exactly the same. So, and then also when it comes to baking, I end up baking with a lot of coconut oil when I do. I don't bake a lot. I use ghee, which has a higher smoke point also, and I like to use coconut oil. And those are the two that I use. It's kind of a good rule of thumb for my house, and hopefully some of those tips will work for yours. We are going to make a kale avocado salad. It's one of my family favorites. I make it quite a bit of times when we have dinner guests, and it looks like I've been cooking in the kitchen for hours, and honestly, it takes just a few minutes. This is nice because when I'm talking about having 5 colors meal, you might look at your plate and you think, oh, we only have maybe 3. So just adding an extra salad in will bring that up to having enough of those colors. So we're gonna start with this Lacinato Kale. I just destemmed it. A lot of people can't eat kale because it tends to be hard for them to digest. So this way they'll end up being able to eat it better because we're going to massage that kale and kind of like break up those fibers a little bit. So I like the Lacinato one because it has a softer edge than that really rough kale. Kale is high in vitamin A, K, C, Bs, and it has fiber. It's also high in lutein, which protects the eyes. So the next thing we're going to do, instead of having a dressing on it, we're going to use avocado. And avocados are a great source of fiber, monounsaturated fats, and those are those good fats that we want to have. But if you opened your avocado up, and I hate when this happens, but if you see brown in that avocado, that's oxidized fat. So we were just talking about oxidation being kind of an enemy of nutrition, and that oxidized fat is something that's going to do more harm to your body. You can think of it as like when a piece of metal, and the metal is exposed to air and water and it rusts. That rust is oxidation. We don't want rust. We don't eat rust. We don't like rust. Just think of that oxidation as something that we would be putting in our body. We don't want to eat rust. So that avocado is gone, and it does make me sad when I think I have to throw away an avocado. They're definitely not cheap, but if it's going to do more harm to my body, that's not worth it. So I'm just going to take this avocado I'm gonna put it in my salad. And I'm gonna add some lemon juice also. I love a Meyer lemon. Probably, actually, definitely my favorite lemon. And I'm lucky to have a neighbor that has a tree, so I can just go up there and have them anytime I want. So I'm also gonna add some salt. And that's gonna help break down those fibers. So now I'm just gonna massage this. This is really the only time consuming part, but really when I end up doing this before I have company, you can do this an hour or two beforehand. And we've had the leftovers the next day and it's not a problem. So I end up getting like my daughter or my husband to do this job while I'm cutting up the vegetables, so it's really quick. And she doesn't seem to mind doing, this is not one of those jobs that she minds doing. She kind of likes it. So I'm gonna do this for about 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And I'm just gonna break up those fibers. I'm done breaking up this kale. It's nice, and the fibers are nice and much more easier to digest. Just cut the roll for those 3 to 4 minutes that I was massaging it. Don't want to make anybody jealous that this kale is treated better than most of us. I'm just going to add a little fresh dill. So anytime that you can add fresh herbs, you will be bringing that just another color to that meal. So, and they have so much more antioxidants and phytonutrients in those herbs than you would regular vegetables, just because they're such deep in color also. So, and then I'm going to add some tomatoes, and I'm just plating my salad here. I have an apple. I'm not peeling it. I plated one of my salads already, but I'm going to but sometimes it's just nice to do them individually. You could do this all in a bowl and just serve it from a bowl, but sometimes it's nice to have it pretty on the plate in the order that you're putting it in. So I've added my apple, and now I'm going to put some cucumber on it. So I've just got some cucumber slices to add. And then my cabbage. And then I'm gonna add my cabbage. Like I said, I always keep this in the refrigerator in these freshness packets. We're gonna talk in the next module about how much nutrition you can lose by buying prepackaged foods, prepackaged rice that's like a cauliflower rice or zoodles cut up. You can lose so much of that nutrition in that water that's being wasted in the oxygen. Remember, water, oxygen, heat are all enemies of nutrition. So I'm just gonna add this. No matter what type of salad I have, I just add a little bit of purple on it. Just kind of makes it a little bit prettier. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of pecorino cheese. I like using pecorino cheese because it's a nice hard cheese. It has a really strong flavor. It has a nice flavor. But when you buy prepackaged, you eat so much more because it's not as an intense of a flavor. So if you can just shred things as you go, you tend to use so much less and it tastes so much better. And then lastly, we're gonna add some fresh walnuts. The walnuts are kind of like my crouton. It's nice to have a salad. It adds a little bit of crunch. And here is a gorgeous salad. So I will leave this in the recipe in the comments. And again, I look forward to teaching you many more salads and how to incorporate as much color from the rainbow into our meals. Let's do a quick recap of what we've learned today. So trying to eat as many whole foods as possible. Less processed, more whole, closest to the spectrum of natural as possible. Always eating in the outside of the supermarket, not the inside. Making sure that we have as many colors as we can. Aim for 5 colors a meal. Don't peel those vegetables and fruits if you can prevent it. All those vitamins and minerals are right under the skin. Your enemies in nutrition that we talked about: heat, water, oxygen. So those types of things we want to watch. How hot we're cooking our foods, for how long. If they're exposing them to oxygen. And then we're going to talk more about water in the next module. And then oils do matter. So cooking with the right oil for the right application will give you the most nutrition and optimize your nutrition benefits. So until next time, have a great meal and enjoy that kale avocado salad. I know I will.